This is weird. So I really hope I was live. I hope I was live that whole time. I'd be kind of tight if I'm not. Yo, YouTube really be messing with me, bro. I have no way to check either if I was live that whole time. Well, yeah, I have no idea what to. Hold on, wait. I have an idea. I'm gonna go into private mode, go to YouTube, find the channel, and see what happened. Oh man, no, it's not. It's not that anymore. Uh, Looking at vanilla YouTube is always so weird. Um, like you see a bunch of like content creators you've never seen before, and you're like, who are these people even? Go to YouTube, find the channel, and see. Let's see. This is weird. So I really hope I was. All right, this is I wasn't live at all. None of that got recorded. Perfect. I'm gonna start over. So where was I even? So today's episode is about change. Uh, Welcome to the second time that I'll be saying all of this stuff because I wasn't live last time. But what really got me thinking about this change was I recently finished God of War, that game, the 2022 version of God of War. I just finished Ragnarok. Uh, if you've played the original trilogy and the current, what's the word? It's not trilogy for two. Like the current iteration of the game, you know that Kratos has gone through a lot of change. Like in the original trilogy, he was a vengeful rage monster. That was like the term that they used for him. Athena literally called him a monster. She called him her monster, and she would like point, and he would go and like kill things for her. And now we see Kratos as a lot more of a, I don't want to say sensible, but he is a lot more sensible. He's trying his best to calm down. He's trying not to be that rage, vengeful person. Uh, a quick recap: in the 2018 version, he has a son. This is his second child. So he has a son with his second wife. She is passed, and like the whole premise of the game is that he's going to spread her ashes on the top, the highest peak of the nine realms. Right. That is the premise of the first game. Hijinks ensue. They meet gods. They meet friends, enemies. It's a really great game. It sets up the second game really nicely. A few years have passed, and now, after the hijinks that happened in the first game, the Norse gods are ticked at Kratos. They are not too happy with his presence in their area. They are worried about him, because like they know his story. They know what he's done. He's killed an entire pantheon of people. So they're worried that Kratos might throw a wrench in their plans. His son, being the young man he is, he's getting into trouble himself. And as I played the game, I watched Kratos and Atreus. That's Kratos' son's name. I watched them change over time, especially Kratos. I've played all of the God of War games. I literally watched that man evolve from a vengeful monster into a very, very, very reasonable parent. Like I know sometimes when you're like playing, like he's very stoic. He doesn't show all of his emotions, but it's really hard to undo all of that. And like it's not like he has therapy. But he's trying his best. I feel like his second wife did a lot to help him realize that he needs to like change his ways since he is no longer a war general. He's not the god of war anymore. Like he still is a god, but he is not worshipped as such anymore. And specifically the second game, you watch as a parent has to deal with his son growing up and wanting to break out and do things on his own. And Kratos himself is just he like really isn't ready for that. He really does not want his son to like start doing things on his own because it's really dangerous. He's trying his hardest to protect him, and he doesn't know if his son is ready, if all of the things he has taught his son has like really sunk in yet. And at the same time, you can like since you were playing as both of them, you can see that the son really wants to prove to his father that he is ready, that he can do these things, that he does um, know how to do things now, like without instruction. So, especially like you can see it even in the gameplay, like even in the action scenes. So when you first played the 2018 version of God of War, you have to like tell your son to do things. Like you unlock that skill tree to have him and you work together in combat a lot better. In this game, you don't have to do that. Atreus is a lot better at like already knowing a lot of the same stuff that you taught him the first game. You can have him fire his bow. He's already like extending your combos. If you like knock someone up, he's already firing. Like you don't even need to press the button. He's firing at him. Um, Sometimes when you do your finisher moves, like if you're a God of War fan, you know Kratos loves his big flashy finisher moves. Sometimes when you do those on the really big monsters, Atreus will come and like hit some key points, fire some key arrows. No direction needed, right? It's really nice to see that because it shows that Atreus is like evolved. Right? I guess that's not the right word, but he's grown. He knows what he's doing. He's been around the block. He's been fighting since I think in the 18 version of God of War, he's like I want to say like 8. I want to say he's like 8 to 10, like between those ranges, right? I think in this one he's like 16. I could look it up, but he has a baby face. But I want to say he's about 16, and I know that's not like big man age in like the states or anything, but you know, like this is like a older time period. They seem to have like a younger threshold for being a man, and because it's like the old days, like they're hunting for food. Like it just seems like when you're like old enough to hunt by yourself, you're basically considered a man. And especially in the second game, you get to play as Atreus sometimes, so you get to like hear his thoughts on the matters, and he's like angry that his dad won't let him do things, but you know it's not like he's like he hates his father. He's just like he wants to prove himself, and the reason I even like thought of this topic is because I watched them both change, and at my big old age now, I can kind of like see both sides of the situation a lot more clearly. Like if I was how old was I when I started playing these games? If I was 8, I was playing God of Wars when I was like 8, I think. If I was 8, I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have understood Atreus at all, probably. Like because I was playing as Kratos, so I would always consider myself that character, right? So I'd be like, damn, this kid's dumb. He's making all these mistakes. He should just listen to me. And if I was like 18, I'd be like, man, Kratos needs to relax, bro. He needs to stop. He needs to let his kid make these mistakes. But now I can see both sides. I'm like, yeah, I'll just need to talk. That's really it. They need to talk, especially since there were like Atreus himself was keeping a lot of secrets. Like there were a lot of things he couldn't say because if he said them out loud, the enemy might hear. Which, yeah, the enemy might hear when you're dealing with the all-knowing Odin. You don't want to let anything slip. It's a really great game. I really loved all the side characters too. I would literally find myself standing listening to the side characters because you got so much information about their backstory, their motivations, their relationships, like who is friends, who's not friends, who likes who. Like no one likes Heimdall. Heimdall's an asshole. No one likes him. Um, and Heimdall doesn't care. He just doesn't because that's just who he is as a person, right? And they even encourage it sometimes because sometimes there'll be conversations behind closed doors, and you can like walk up to the door and press like the circle button. It's on PS5, so everyone's playing a circle. But you press the circle button, you can like listen in on the conversation, and this has nothing to do with like the overall story. Like you could completely skip that scene, like that would not affect your ending or at all. But like the knowledge that it gave me personally made me connect deeper to the characters, and so in completing that game, in completing God of War Ragnarok, well, I didn't do all the challenges because I really wanted to like complete the main story and the secret ending, which I can't even spoil. Like I'm not gonna spoil the secret ending, even if it wasn't a big thing. Like the secret ending had a lot to do with change. The main ending had a lot to do with change. If there is going to be a third game, it's going to look so different from these first two games that it might as well be another reboot of the series. Ideally, like they could even go back to the hack and slash if they really wanted to, like they really could. Um, but the reason I wanted to talk about this was because playing that game made me really think about like my relationship with other people and like how personally, and like I'm sure most of you also, like you try to see yourself as the main character really, and when you do that, you kind of like lock yourself out of the perspective of other people, and you're trying to like think of how things benefit you or how you're trying to benefit other people, and if you don't take in their perspective, you. I know it seems like I'm coming with this off the top of my head, but I guarantee you I thought about this. It's just sitting here talking to yourself, even when you're recording, it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird. But back to what I was saying. When you like don't take into account those other people's perspectives, you are just alienating yourself from them really. Even though if you're thinking it is for them or you're doing something for them, you're not really even taking account if they want you to do that for them. I find myself trying my best to understand when it is the proper time to help someone or let them struggle. Because sometimes people want to struggle. They want to do something themselves. They want to prove to themselves that they can do things. And you gotta like let them. And other times, you just gotta help them. And I don't mean like take over. I mean just like give them a helping hand. For for a really silly example, like if I see someone struggling with a jar, I'm gonna open for them. I'm like, yo, gotcha, fam. Like that, like I got you. And, you know, and even that example can be. Sometimes you gotta like let them complete that like task themselves. Like I know there was like, shit, what was it? There was someone who had like, I think it was like a muscle deficiency, and they really wanted to like struggle. And, like you just let them try at least. You know, like they gotta like work on those like fine motor skills. You gotta let them like pick things up. So like if it was that situation, I wouldn't have helped, right? Because I've been in those situations where you're like, all right, you should do that on your own because you're like trying to build up that muscle or that skill back, right? But other times, you know, you can just give them a helping hand. But really, like playing that game just really made me think about those interpersonal relationships, friends, family, relationships. You really do have to like put yourself in other people's shoes to really get what's going on. And I feel a lot of people have a problem doing that, where instead of putting themselves in people's shoes, they kind of put themselves in that situation and then try to be like, well, if I was here, then I would be feeling this, I'd be doing that. And that's not the same thing. That is like completely different, right? Like when you just put yourself in that situation, you can see yourself doing different things and feeling different things, but you're not actually putting yourself in that person's shoes. Like I had this conversation with this one girl where she was telling me she was terrified of the homeless people on the train, and she like what said to me is like they're like you'll never truly understand what it's like for me because I, being a very large individual, would probably just never have that fear. It never even crossed my mind, honestly, that a homeless person on a train would like do anything to me. Because, and it's not even like I think that I can like box anybody. It's just not something I think about. It does not cross my mind. Like I do not ever think about just getting picked up and ran away with. Like not crossing my mind. I'm like 300 pounds, bro. It's not happening. And if that person could pick me up and take me, they deserve it, bro. They've been hitting the gym. They deserve it. And it's just one of those things. And like, you know, like I tried my best to see where she was coming from, and like explain it's like I know that you're afraid, and I know there's nothing I can say to make you not afraid, but like I try. I am trying to convey to you that like they are not as dangerous as you believe. But you know, like overall, at the end, there's nothing I could say. Um, what else? Yeah, honestly, this is the biggest change because this is the first time I personally am hitting up the channel by myself. This is usually Vanguard's job, Vanguard has keys to the shop. Really, I just do all the technical work. I just set the stuff up. But he was a little busy today, and EJ is busy every Tuesday, so it's just your boy. Could have canceled, but I didn't want to do that. I want to try to appear a little more professional, right? I'm still not the greatest with the whole speech thing because even though I like thought I was prepared, like I was literally sitting here getting nervous about this, and it's not like I haven't streamed before to an empty audience, right? But at least like before I would do video game streams, so like I'd be doing something. I could at least distract myself with playing the game. So if I had to stop talking, I could pretend that I was focusing. I guess like it was a subconscious thing too. But now I have to stop. Like no, I have to keep going. If I stop, it seems weird, right? And I do seem like I'm rambling because I guess that is a little bit of those nerves. And even though you are aware of that, it still manifests itself. Before I was saying like a lot, like a lot. This was back when I found out that I wasn't streaming yet. Totally slipped my mind. But when that happened, I was even more nervous. Now I'm more into the flow, more into the act of just chatting away. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I probably will do it more often though, because we all three of us have lives outside of this so far, right? Like, hopefully, we can make this our main priority. But we gotta eat. So until we can get to that point, we're going to have moments like this where like only one of us can show up, and that's a thing that we're gonna have to deal with. Like those are also changes. I know I'm kind of being kind of vague with the word change here, but it's kind of important to tackle all aspects of it. Like as you grow older, things will change. Like I remember being a kid and what was it? I remember being a kid and like I would look at these like Lego sets, right? Like this is like just piece of Lego set, but like these were the big, really expensive ones. Oh, like I don't remember how much this cost, but like the really big, like $300 Death Star. Like I never thought in my life I'd probably ever own something like that, and I still don't own that Death Star because that one was sold out. But like I own this. This is part of the Discovery ship. The Discovery ship is way over there, way too big for me to pick up. Um, but like small things like that. Well, I guess it's not small, but like my life has changed to a point where like I can get the things that young me never thought they could get, right? Stuff like that. Like here I am sitting in front of this like YouTube channel talking to people. Like I never thought that would happen, right? Like I remember my first YouTube video was like it was in winter too. It was called Ghetto Snowman. Me and my cousin made this tiny little snowman on my fire escape, and I didn't expect anyone to look at it. And guess what? No one did. But now here I am chatting with people, chatting to people, getting some pretty decent views sometimes. Like I think one of our videos hit 500. We were ecstatic. TBH, shout out to everyone who watched any of our content. We really do appreciate it. We like really get excited when we see like the numbers going up because we do it for you guys, right? Oh man. Um. See now I'm out. I wasted all the good stuff in the beginning and nothing was recorded. Nothing was recorded. And like lightning doesn't strike twice. I can't just rewind myself and like bring it back out. So where was I going with this? Man, I'm gonna get yelled at. Oh yeah, he was telling me to write a script, and I was like, "Nah, I got it. I got it." Oh man, but nah. Even if I wrote a script, like I can never follow scripts. I'm so bad at that. So But I touched upon God of War, which great game. I recommend playing that. Shout out to San Monica for making an actually banger game, banger of a game. Especially like when you make those big changes from they literally changed the genre. Like they kept the same IP, but they changed the genre. That could have went so south. And I know there are some people who do not like the direction that the God of War game has went in, but as someone who's played the old ones, like this continuation of his story makes the most sense. Like if he just showed up in the Norse mythology doing the same shit he was doing at the end of God of War 3, it would have made no sense. Because at the end, he was so upset at himself for everything that he's even done. Like he didn't want to have to kill his dad. You know, he killed Zeus and he killed all the other gods. He didn't want that. And like Kratos has always been such a big family man. Like the reason he even went and killed the entire pantheon was because his family died. His brother, his wife, his daughter, they all were in one way or shaped messed with by the gods, and he did not like the gods meddling in like mortal affairs, and that's why he did it. So now, once again, when he's dealing with his son, and he's like really just trying, especially in the first game, he's literally just trying to spare his wife's ashes. He literally tells them, "He's like, I have no business with you. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do anything." Like he's trying his hardest to plead with them that he doesn't want to go back to the way he was, and everyone just keeps pushing his buttons. He's like, we know who you are. You never change, right? That's like the premise. It's like they're just like egging him on to be that rage monster, and he tries his hardest to not, but sometimes he slips back, and like you can see it in his face every time that he like slips up and he like falls off the path of like the path of redemption that he has set for himself. He is devastated, especially when his son witnesses it. Like he is absolutely hurt. He doesn't want that. And I think like the biggest lesson to take away from these games is one, you can always change yourself, right? You are not your choices. You can reflect on them. Like if you made a mistake, if you've done bad things, you can genuinely try your hardest and work on them to be better. Like right? Hopefully none of you are out here murdering the innocent, right? So if Kratos can do it, you can do it, right? Two, you can be better for the people you love. Like Kratos is one of his main motivations is trying to be better for his son. Like he is trying his best to be a good example of what to do and what not to do for his son. Sometimes, which he even reflects on it, sometimes the lessons that he's learned do not apply because of the environment he is so different from the one that he grew up in. And you can see like the gears turning in his head where he's like watching his son kind of be more like him, and he's like, wait, no, I don't want that. I don't want him to be more like me. I want him to be more like his mom, or I want him to be more like Sindri, or I want him to just be more like himself. Even especially in like the second game, that's a lot of what he's trying to give like teach his sons like, hey, no one can set your path for you. That is all up to you. What you do, what you want to do, where you go, that's all for you to decide. The game is all about prophecies, and I don't even consider that a spoiler because most people should know that Ragnarok is like this big prophecy that is like predestined to happen to Asgard. Like even if you saw the Marvel movies, like there's a whole Thor Ragnarok movie. It was about that prophecy of Ragnarok, right? And they're just trying to fight the prophecy. They're like, "Oh man, Ragnarok's coming. What are you gonna do?" And Kratos was like, "That's nothing to do with me." Kratos is the king of what's that got to do with me, bro? Oh man. And I would like to point out that the reason I am even talking about this through the lens of video games is because I like video games. I like playing them. I think they are a good device to what's the word? I want to say like I get all my lessons from video games or anything. That's goofy, right? But like I feel like there are lessons. They are a good device to tell stories. They are a good storytelling medium. There's a nice balance between just watching the story because there are a lot of cutscenes in God of War Ragnarok. There are a lot, and there's a lot of gameplay, and they do a good mix of story through cutscene and story through gameplay. Like while you are fighting, characters are talking. While you're traveling, characters are talking, and they do a good mix of like giving you story. Like this is an integral main story, and then a lot of times when you're traveling, Mimir will just tell you random tidbits about the world or lore, and like that's also really nice because it really makes the world feel a lot bigger than it is. And it's not even like the world's small, but when you just have all of this background knowledge for the universe that you're playing in, it just feels bigger. You're like, especially like Mimir will tell you a story, and then you will walk into the area and be like, oh yeah, Mimir was talking about this. Like that's who that is. That's what's going on. That's the aftermath. That's why these people are beefing. So that's really great. And I'm kind of all over the place with this. I really just want to talk about God of War. That's really it. But I feel it's also important to actually reflect on the things that I did gain from the game, which is a newfound respect for my parents. It's not like I didn't respect them before, but yeah, like especially since it's so fresh in my mind, I'm like, yeah, they did a lot. Especially like they had kids when they were really young comparatively. Like I know one of my friends' parents had them at like 40. My parents had me at like 20. Like that alone is just such a big difference in mind state. Like imagine if I had a kid right now. Could not be me, bro. Couldn't be me. So I do have a lot more respect for my parents and the journey that they went through raising kids, whatever. Shout out to them. I have a lot more respect for myself for dealing with my parents. Because I feel like I handled it a lot better than some people. Some people I know, some people like you read things on the internet and you're like, wow, that kid needed to take a chill pill. So I'm glad I didn't go full crazy. I don't think I had a real rebellious phase. Like I think everyone has a rebellious phase, but like I think the extent of it is kind of different. So that's really great. And as you guys grow older, I just want you to ultimately take a breath, reevaluate, just look at the round, accurately put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, don't just be like, oh, well, if I was here. No, no, don't do that. That's bad. Just putting yourself in the situation, bad. Really try to understand the mindset of the person. Like, if they are, I don't know, really afraid of clowns and they're going to a circus, like, you can't just be like, well, if I was at a circus, I'd have a great time. No, like, they're terrified of clowns. The second Bozo comes out, they are probably crapping their pants. And, like, sometimes that's something like you can't truly understand. Like, I'm not afraid of clowns. I really cannot understand what it is about clowns that makes you terrified. Like, I can be afraid of a clown doing something to me, but that's not the same as just being afraid of clowns overall, right? And like, even if I can like picture being afraid of clowns, I can't actually be afraid of clowns. So there's like that aspect of it too. Even though like I try to understand, and I want you guys to try to understand these people. Ultimately, understand like you can't ever truly get there. Like you can get close, and I feel like that's important. Getting close is very important. So, especially in the holiday season, shout out to everyone who's out here dealing with their parents. Shout out to all the parents dealing with their kids. Honestly, just try your best to have open communication. If that fails, you will need to look at other channels, right? I know some people are just bad at communicating, but you can reach out to them or get messages through them through other things, right? I can't sit here and list all of them because it'd be high key impossible, right? There's just so many things, especially like when you're dealing with other humans. But just try your best. Try your best. Because that's all you can do. All you can do is all you can do, really. Try your best. See where they're coming from. truly put yourself in their shoes. And I'm not even saying like you necessarily have to like always be sympathetic and empathetic toward people, because sometimes people can just be wrong. And if you put yourself in their shoes and you ultimately determine that they're wrong, that might just be something you also have to deal with, right? Because we all had people in our lives that were just bad for us, and it takes a lot of strength to come to the realization that, like, yeah, I gotta not deal with this person anymore. This person can't be here in my life. So, yeah, that's change. There's a lot of things changing. New Year is about to happen. That's another thing. I know a lot of people put a lot of weight into that January 1st start date. I try not to. I try not to. But it's a nice start date. So there's a lot of things that even I am going to start then. It's just a nice counter. Like 165 point, what, 4 days, right? 165. About 165.4. That's why you get your leap years, because of that extra bit. Um, so look out for all of the change that we're gonna do. I'm working on updating the look of the channel, right? Vanguard's in charge of logos, but I'm in charge of how the stream looks. That background is all me. And by all me, I mean I stole it from the internet. Gonna fix that. Can't be out here stealing things from the internet. Also, it's low res. It does not look that good. Especially when I'm by myself, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, oh my god, how did I let this happen? We're looking to just like be a little more professional overall. I probably said all this. I'm probably rambling. Still those nerves, right? But we're all growing together. If you've been here from the beginning, shout out to you. If you're somehow watching this from the future, shout out to you too. For coming all the way back here. If you're the future us, bro, remember to get your hair cut. With that, though,